Let's go.
Wednesday afternoon.
Contract recently for 2 years. And he said the reason he's doing it is because at that stage they'd lost the last 4 games. He said he doesn't like that, so he signed this longer contract, 2 years rather than 1 year, because he obviously wants to put that right. But since then, he's had another loss and a draw where they were 3-0 up, which is unheard of for them to lose that kind of lead. So it's like something's going on there, and very, very strange, very unfortunate for them, really.
Yeah, I mean, let's just try to diagnose it. I mean, we're not football managers. We don't have the experience, but in a layman term, right? So from yesterday's game, they went up 3-0, right? And then conceded 3 goals. Now, which shows that their attack is fairly okay to score 3 goals in the first place. Now, to then concede 3 goals, that means there's a problem in defense. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's to be.
Yeah, because, for your attack to be good, you have to score goals, which they did. And then for your defense to then show there's a deficiency somewhere in the defensive lineup, you have to concede goals, which they did. So, maybe it's their defense. Maybe
it may be, but equally, I think it's more like the whole team is just not functioning properly. If you're not firing on all cylinders throughout the team, if you get, 2 or 3 out of kilter with it, that can spread very easily, because if you've got 2 or 3 weak links, that will affect the performance of the team. So probably unfair to say it's all down to the defence. They're not suddenly bad players overnight, but I think there's a misfunction. There's something's happened to the team, the confidence, the momentum, and maybe largely it is that loss of momentum that they go out thinking we're Man City. They seem to have lost that. They need to be reminded, I'm sure they are, of just who they are, that they are great players and a great team. But in another way, we're not going to weep too many tears. They've had their wonderful moments and going back quite a few years. And it's not a bad thing, perhaps, for the Premier League, for other teams in the Premier League to think we can beat them. Because now any team, Palace, Palace played them on Saturday week, which is the 7th of December. Now, Palace are not doing great, as you know. We've got a draw against Villa on Saturday. Yeah. This coming Saturday, home to Newcastle, which would be interesting because Newcastle lost, didn't they, the other day? And they're not doing as well. I think they're 10th at the moment. They're not doing as well as their rich owners would like, quite clearly. So we've got an interesting home game Saturday and another interesting home game the Saturday after against Man City, and that's going to be, if Palace, funnily enough, we've gone up there and beaten Man City before, one of those rare wins by an away team, which is kind of strange in a way because it's not as if we're a top 6 team. We've done that to both Man City and Liverpool, so it certainly won't be unheard of if we were to beat them, if Palace were to beat them on Saturday week. But given what they're going through, Man City, it'll be quite an interesting one to predict in a way as to how it's going to go. But yeah, I hope there's nothing seriously amiss with the manager, with Guardiola. I think he's done a great amount for the Premier League. I think he's a super manager. And what I like about him is things we talked about previously, but he's someone who shows his emotions. He doesn't mind doing that, a bit like Klopp as well. I suppose I like people, men who can express their emotions, as we discussed previously. And they are both people like that. They wear their football hearts on their sleeves. And I like that. It's good. And I think that rubs off. You see them after the game, they go and hug their players and they'll hug the opposition players. And it's good to generate that non-tribal element in a very tribal game. Yeah. So I hope all is well with him. But as I say, it's no bad thing if it makes a better competition this season for who's going to win the Premier League. I mean, Liverpool are about 8 points ahead, I think, at the moment, aren't they? Is it 8 points? I think it is. So they're in a good position.
8
but
points, yeah.
you know, other teams may come back. Man City might do. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. What's happened to them?
Yeah, it's really strange. It just makes.
Saw Femi and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday. So join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Phantom, Dr. Glass.
Makes me think, well, is it the players? Because if a manager is having a bad day, does he then rub off on the players? If you know what I mean, and vice versa. If the players are having a bad game, does he then rub off on the manager? But like you said, we hope and we hope and pray that Guardiola is, that is is in good health, really, mentally, physically,
absolutely.
Otherwise, because it's a game. You can bounce back from it, but it just seemed to be getting worse for him at the moment, which is life for some people. I was just thinking about Sporting Lisbon. So it just sort of just draws a parallel between Pep Guardiola's, and Amorim. So Ruben Amorim, because he was their coach, and as soon as he departed, they got beaten by Arsenal, didn't they? 5-1. I don't know if you heard that. And it just makes me think: did he have a lucky escape? Could he have still happened under his, tenure as a manager, or was it because he left? And I just thought, well, if that's the case, if it's because he left, then the managers, in as much as they should have the praise, they should also have the criticism as well. They can't have without the other. So, if that's because he left, if that was to show the void that he left behind, as a result, the void that he left behind, then maybe Guardiola should get the blame for what's happening in Man City rather than the players. Does it seem fair?
No, it doesn't. I mean, we talked about this kind of debate before, isn't it? The debate being, who ultimately, if you like, is most accountable or responsible for a team's fortunes. Is it the players or the manager, or what are the percentage differences on that? And I think we've probably agreed that it's a mixture of both, because although, let's face it, we praised Alex Ferguson as probably the best Premier League manager of all time, and he was exceptional, because Manchester United just went on such a great run of trophies, as you know, and victories everywhere, that he was so instrumental in that. And one would imagine that part of that was to do with his he produced fear in his players. In this day and age, I'm not sure someone with a manager with a fear element to the players would work so much, because players have so much power nowadays because of what they're paid and so on. They would say, well, if that's how you feel, mate, I'm going to go somewhere else. So they seem to carry much of the power. But Ferguson enjoyed that period where Man United were excellent. And interestingly, the new manager has said one of the reasons he thinks that no manager has succeeded since Alex Ferguson retired in 2013, I think, is that he casts a long shadow over the new managers, and he sits there in the stand, and I'm sure not intentionally, but what manager, whoever they are, what manager wouldn't be?
Femi and the ladies, Dr. Gladys and Phantom and Rose. We all have a lovely show every weekday. So join us for a lovely show.
Say hello to Fan.